UK police have begun a probe into the first ever case of a rape in the metaverse, or the virtual reality arena, where one can create an avatar and experience some fascinating virtual existence. A 16-year-old girl who had created an avatar for herself complained that her avatar was virtually sexually attacked in the metaverse. While the police have begun a probe, the issue brings into dimension an enormous range of legal and sociological issues. We have a special panel to address that, but first, my colleague Vedant Agarwal explains what the metaverse is and what happened exactly in this case.
An absolutely shocking case of rape in the metaverse. Now, this was the first case of rape in a virtual reality game in the UK. A 16-year-old was actually gang raped virtually. What exactly happened was that the minor girl's digital avatar was sexually attacked in the game. Now, the strangers raped the teen girl in the immersive game. Now, these games make you feel exactly like you feel in real life. So the impact is very real. While there's no physical injury given the sheer nature of the game, but the trauma is similar to a real world rape. In fact, the police in this particular case have gone on to the extent of saying that the girl is suffering grave psychological trauma, and the police have now begun the investigation into the virtual rape case. But over the probe, it is a divided house, because a section of the people in the UK, some within the police, also say that a probe is not justified in this case because the police in the UK are actually battling a huge backlog of cases in the real world. Hence, this case is easily dismissible, is what some people believe. But the Home Department significantly has backed the probe, saying that the sexual trauma of the survivor is extremely real. In fact, the Home Secretary has said that virtual offenders are capable of becoming real-world offenders as well, and they can perpetrate real-life crimes. But the current legislation, that is a big worry, because it's not set up for sexual offences in the virtual world, whether it's countries like the UK or the US or even a country like India. Is Meta prepared? Are we prepared to deal with such offences in the virtual world? That is a big question, because there has been a rise in cases of sexual assault in Meta's virtual reality and augmented reality games. There is an automatic protection option to set personal boundaries. In fact, personal boundaries can be set to avoid avatars from coming too close to each other. So there is that consent option there, so to speak, as far as the virtual world is concerned. But it's extremely, it's a grey area when it comes to the virtual world, because the protection option sets a 4 feet distance limit. But once you are in it, once you are in the immersive world, you can actually be privy to a lot of things that you've not signed up for. In fact, there are advocacy groups that are asking for conversations around human rights in the virtual world. In fact, governments globally are thinking about laws and legislations to deal with sexual offences in the virtual reality world or in the artificial intelligence world. This, as a world, is digitizing faster than ever before in new and dangerous ways. Are we prepared? That is a big question.
Well, joining me now is advocate at the Supreme Court N.S. Nappinai and Dr. Prashant Mali, both of whom are experts on legal issues confronting cyberspace. But this really brings out an entirely new dimension to issues of this nature. Nappinai, first to you. While we understand what the metaverse is, this is really a new dimension as far as legal issues are concerned.
Yes and no. Because in the earlier introductory portion, there was a mention about this being the first virtual rape. Unfortunately, it's not quite so. As far back as 1993, the author Debels writes about a rape in cyberspace, and that was in the 2D version, where one of the users hacked into the system. It's like a common virtual meeting place, and he abused 2 of the avatars which were in the space. This is in 93. Once you move into the metaverse space, again, this is not the first of its kind. About in January 2022, there was a case of a housewife who had just entered into the metaverse, and within 60 seconds or so of her starting use of this online space, she was subjected to gang rape. And again, that wasn't just one-off situation. A lot of changes, when you look at it in terms of how Metaverse has decided to self-regulate, has happened due to the kind of sexual abuse though it is virtual, as you rightly said, it has a heavy impact in terms of physical and psychological, negative effect, affecting a victim negatively too. So, social media platforms, this issue about, distancing and consent, etc., which you spoke about, have arisen because of these repeated cases of sexual assaults online. When you talk about the law, we refer to this as virtual rape or virtual gang rape. Unfortunately, the provisions, however, do not support the usage of the word rape. So, for instance, the rape laws, whether you look at it in terms of the Indian Penal Code or the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the provisions 376 under IPC or 63 under BNS will not support the virtual rape as rape. Having said that, there are other provisions under laws which you can invoke for these kind of crimes.
Okay, Dr. Prashant, in a sense, for someone like, who's not aware of the metaverse, this is a new age reality that's coming in. Do we need test cases? How do we then make people legally aware of the consequences of what happens in a virtual reality space?
See, this is crime against your mind. It's not may not be crime against your body directly, but mental trauma is real. The person is suffering. The lady in this case is personally suffering from this trauma. Trauma has further impact in your future life. So it has a long-term impact on a person's living itself. So somewhere right to life gets affected, as given by our Honorable Constitution of India. So based on this, I think we have a chance to improvise on our law and bring a new section where we address crime on the mind, crime or a mental trauma kind of things can actually be addressed, because this is a reality, and many young children and young girls are using VR. They are using this sets and getting into metaverse and making their avatars. There are being contra views about this also, that a lady can take a men avatar and go into this metaverse, or how can avatar actually rape when they don't have a lower body. These are also certain views you can find it on online. People are saying this, but that doesn't suffice a mental trauma a lady faces when she's in the virtual world. And I feel that there has to be some laws globally they are thinking about, and we in India also, we need to have some kind of laws which will govern such kind of cases happening in the virtual world.
Right. Important point that you make there. In fact, this could well be a test case, right, Ms. Napinai? Very quickly, your final words. This incident in UK, which has sort of created global awareness, also perhaps redefines in many ways, as you point out, it may have had a precedence, but redefines in a way crimes against women or anyone in a virtual reality world.
Certainly, and it is really to be appreciated that the UK police have understood that the impact of virtual crimes is on par with the physical crimes, or probably worse. And therefore, to that extent, that a conscious effort has been taken for initiating prosecution is a very critical move.
Right. That's an important point that you make there. In fact, there has been conversations on whether the UK police has the wherewithal and the manpower to deal with such crimes, because once you open this, you could have several more cases of this nature being reported, which were perhaps going unreported earlier. But thank you too for joining us and sharing with us those thoughts and insights on what could be a potential legal dimension for the future. But that's all we have time for on the Southern View. The news continues here on NDTV.